Sunday, race day at Spa. Well, it ended as it started. Lewis, Valtteri, Max Verstappen, and amazingly, really, given how tough it is to finish Grand Prix these days and where Renault have been and everything else, Daniel Ricciardo, P4, sitting fastest lap. So to me, that was, I shouldn't say it was the highlight of the race, because why would you detract from anything that Lewis did or indeed Max did? Because, they just got everything out of their car, didn't they? And perfectly managed the day in both cases. Valtteri had, he couldn't stay with Lewis really when Lewis was really trying, and in addition had what must be an agonising thing, numbness in his left foot under braking. Not the first time he's had a cockpit ailment. He hurt his back when he was driving for Williams. So odd, because he's just a stocky guy. You'd imagine that he's a perfect size for a Grand Prix car. But anyway, he did. But he still finished a good second. So from Mercedes' point of view, it was a 1-2. And although there were some question marks about the tyre, the hard tyre, the Pirelli hard, it proved to be a very, very good race tyre. We'll get onto that in a minute. Pierre Gasly chose to run that off the line, and what a great decision that was. But going back to Daniel Ricciardo, it's just the old Daniel Ricciardo. I made the point that I think when he chose to leave Red Bull, it was probably for the wrong reasons. It was obviously there was money, a lot of money from Renault, much more than he was getting from Red Bull. It wasn't only that, he didn't like being in the other car alongside Max Verstappen, and I'm sure from his perspective and his view of the world, Red Bull were favouring Max more. There was more love being given to Max than to Daniel. It was always going to be a difficult partnership, Ricciardo, Max Verstappen, because Max is so quick, and that was always going to be an issue. But I made the point at the time, even when Daniel was there alongside Max, that he still has some qualities that are better than Max in some areas, and we saw those today. And I think he went through a period of adjustment in his own mind as to who he was and where he was going as a racing driver. And now that he's made the decision to leave Renault and he's got his money in the bank, and he's probably getting a little bit more from McLaren, one would imagine so, but he's going to McLaren, he's got to focus again. It's a very, very good looking team. Great drive again from Lando Norris today. Mercedes engines next year. Daniel's suddenly totally relaxed. He's the race driver that was out there outrageously winning Grand Prix for Red Bull, and it's so good to see him driving like that again and wringing the best from Renault. And Esteban Ocon drove really well today, really well, and he's really quick, and Daniel had him all day, and that was impressive. Out-qualified him, of course, and then had him, and then to set that fastest lap on the last lap, wow, that was just a complete shock to see that. I must seem pretty ebullient about this race, I guess, when you're watching this video, and I suppose most of you are thinking, oh, what a really boring race. I didn't really see it as boring, because that's what Grand Prix racing's all about. It's trying to reach perfection in everything you do, and I think we kind of saw that today with Lewis and Max, and I think we probably saw that with Daniel in the Renault as well. We probably saw it, if we but knew it, in either Charles or Sebastian in the Ferrari, but the Ferrari was so slow, so far down the back, and so unable to compete with anything. Leclerc couldn't even pass Romain Grosjean at the end of the race. It was just ridiculous. So you have to draw the line somewhere, I suppose, on where perfection lies. But I've mentioned quite a few things, but I think I should mention Pierre Gasly and that decision by, I don't know whether it was Franz Tost or somebody at AlphaTauri who put him on the hard tyre. The only driver who had the ability to choose the tyres in which he was going to start, who went for the hard tyre, and it had proved to be a pretty good tyre on Friday and Saturday, and Sergio Perez had put in some good lap times with it. I was amazed nobody else went that route, and it was a really, really good choice for Pierre Gasly, because he was right up there from lap one. What a lap one he drove as well, past Perez the way he did, down the absolutely alongside the pit wall. Total confidence, of course, that Perez wasn't going to do anything stupid, and that's what driving at that level is all about, understanding the other driver with whom you're racing and doing that. But really, really gutsy moment from Pierre Gasly there. That would have done him a lot of good, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him really being considered again back at the full-time Red Bull Honda seat, and Albon either going back to Toro Rosso AlphaTauri, or getting another drive for AlphaTauri, because this was not a good day for Alex Albon. They put him on the soft tyre in Q2 just to make sure he got through to Q3, so he wasn't able to start on the medium, and then from the soft he went to the medium to give him as much grip as possible, and of course that went off. But the whole point of having him on the medium was to give him a lot more grip in the mid phase of the race so he could do some overtaking, and that didn't really happen either. So it wasn't a good day for Alex Albon, and people are saying to Alex, and a lot of people are now talking about it, the pressure he's under, and I think hopefully I've covered that base. I mean, I did that video a while ago about one of the reasons Alex is probably better than you think, and I said that because I think a lot of people thought he was just a pretty average racing driver, but he does have a very delicate, supple touch. What he doesn't have is the ability to shorten his corners in the way Max Verstappen does, to trade off braking load against increasing steering load. It sounds a convoluted thing, but it's a pretty simple thing I'm talking about. You brake, you come out of the brake pedal at a certain rate, and you load up the steering at a certain rate. This is all happening in milliseconds, of course, in a Formula One car. But that rate is absolutely critical to how you get the front into the corner. And once you got the front in, then you're kind of home and dry. And that's what Alex doesn't have. Although he's got this supple approach to steering inputs, in reality his driving has quite a lot of spikes, because he's reacting to what the car does. Once he's got it into a certain position and wants to start feeding on the power, he isn't creating a platform in the way Max naturally does and Lewis naturally does, and Valtteri does a little bit, but not quite as well. So yeah, not a good day for Ferrari, not a good day for Alex Albon, not a good day for Carlos Sainz, who didn't even start the race. They had a exhaust failure on the car, which effectively on these cars means a turbo failure and loss of power, and so they just drove into the garage as the grid was forming and got out of the car, and that was that. Second time that's happened this year. Nico Hülkenberg, they had a problem with a fire up on Hülkenberg's car, which was a really odd thing, traced to some sort of clutch bolt thing that was wrong or loose or broke. Which brings, why don't they have Sunday morning warm-ups again? I'm trying to think of why they stopped the Sunday morning warm-up. Obviously, I would guess it was... part of it was, the Bernie TV era and what they would do about it, and it wouldn't work TV-wise, I suppose, was one thing. And secondly, money, testing, extra running of the cars. But, if you run them, say, for 20 minutes on race morning, and they've come out of Parc Fermé, and you're running in all the new bits just to make sure that nothing's going to fall off it, or if you've got an exhaust problem, you can change the exhaust in the same way that you could if the exhaust had gone in qualifying. Why don't they do that? I'd be interested to know how much more money it would actually cost the teams to do that. Of course, they'd have to come in a lot earlier. I suppose that's another thing, health and safety in terms of work hours for the mechanics. Maybe it was that. We don't do all-nighters anymore. Mechanics have to work to a very strictly controlled hourly schedule. So anyway, it would have given us Nico on the grid, and it would have given us Carlos Sainz today, and Carlos probably would have finished, top 6, wouldn't he? He would have had a good race. So that's a shame for them. But an irony, of course, bearing in mind McLaren chose to leave Honda free supply of engines on the basis that they were not quick and unreliable, and the delta in doing that, the amount of money they've had to spend going to Renault was, I think, 32 million from memory in 1 year, so presumably the same in second year. And have they got more reliability? Is the engine more powerful than the Honda? It's certainly more powerful than the Ferrari, that's for sure. But speaking of Ferrari, can we speak of Ferrari? It was just another abysmal day. 3 abysmal days for Maranello at Spa, and now they're going to Monza, and I don't envy anybody there at the moment. It's a sad situation, and isn't going to get better, I don't think, overnight. Mugello, the tighter circuits, they might have a slightly more competitive car, you would imagine so. 2 very good drivers, enough resources to get the chassis working, even if they don't have a massive amount of power. But what was going on at Spa today, it was just embarrassing for everybody at Ferrari, and kind of embarrassing for everyone, because we just don't want to see that, do we? Well, I don't. Maybe some people are clapping their hands with delight, but I'm not. So congratulations to Lewis. It goes on and on and on. I was chatting to my co-commentator on F1 TV today, Alex Jakes, about how long, can this Lewis run go on forever? I mean, at some point, you got to imagine that there's going to be some sort of mechanical glitch or something will happen. And I suppose Lewis has that thought in his mind, and he's just thinking, I will just take every day as it comes. I'll do my job. I'll continue to work the way I'm working. And it's working, isn't it? It's all happening for him, and he must. He makes a point sometimes of talking about the real world and all the strife and trouble in the real world at the moment, and he must look up and think. I mean, genuinely must think I'm really blessed to be in this situation, winning race after race after race in this team, in this car, and look at what's going on in the real world, and it must be a kind of a weird situation for Lewis. I mean, there was I at the start of the year saying that I thought Lewis, this was pre-COVID, mind you, that Lewis was almost so big that it was going to be impossible for him to just come in and be really quick, and that Max Verstappen and Red Bull would for sure be right up there early on. And then when the COVID thing happened, I said, foreshortened championships, sort of thing that Max and Red Bull might be able to really get their head around. But it hasn't worked out. I was wrong about that. And I was wrong because I underestimated how good Mercedes have become as a team. And I was wrong because Lewis, I think, has matured even more. He's learned even more. He's developing even more in every dimension, in a positive way. And whether you like him or not, whether you want to see him win, whether you don't, there is absolutely no denying that he is an incredible athlete and an incredible racing driver. And I don't get tired of watching performances that good, especially on circuits that impressive. Spa. Got a couple of pheasants crossing the road here. I better brake. I don't want to hit one of these, that's for sure. Out of the way, that's it. Oops, another one. A reflex test there. The Kent countryside. We're in Winston Churchill country right now. Anyway, that was it. Belgian Grand Prix. Move on now. 1 week later. I'll talk about the F2 and the F3 in another video this week, and bring you up to date with some other stuff as well, so a bit of a chat. But that's it for Spa. Thanks for watching, and see you again very soon.